How many of us out there understand and know precisely that everything that has a beginning has an end? That is theoretically a belief and an expression in the Bible. And Solomon, one of the wisest kings that ever ruled Israel, mentioned in the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter number 3 that everything under the sun has a time to be born and time to die, time to build and time to pull down. There's a season and a time for everything. If that be true, which I believe it's so, then we are not just experiencing an existence that is coincident or accidental. There is a manageable and there is a reasonable energy that is controlling every aspect of life as we know it. And for that reason, I want to talk today about the matter concerning the end of the world. And people have asked me many questions. When you go to different places in the world, people ask you these questions because they listen to how you reason out and they think that you probably have the answer. Well, we may have some information, but we may not have the total information or the information in totality. And for that matter, our knowledge, our reasoning, our thought keeps on differing from one individual to another individual, from one race to another race, from one person to another person. And for that matter, I just want to share with you the little revelation that God has given to me so that you can match it with the information that you have, and probably to be able to help you understand much and depth of the subject that we're talking about concerning the end of the world. The world in itself is the physical atmosphere that we live in, which composes air, fire, earth, fire, wind, matter, and everything that we breathe and what we do. That is the world. Okay? The earth is actually the crescent, the entire physical object that really carries the experiences of life and life by its own. We know, according to scientists, that probably in this world where we are, that's where life really exists. Yet that theoretical aspect of beliefs that there are aspects of life beyond the earth, and probably in some particular galaxy or maybe planet, there probably some life existing, and this is just a notion of discussion going on. Probably one day we'll be right, and before that happen, we can always believe that we are the people who are the descendants of life as we know it, and we have to utilize the best of it while we still have it. There are a lot of theories that has been written out there, has been driven out there concerning life, origin of life, and those theories, you can follow them, and they're all basically entwined together to a form or in a way that you can see there is similarity from one civilized society to another civilized society on how they describe the beginning of life, life itself, and how it goes about. I will try to use the biblical aspect as we keep talking, but however, I want to also bring the notion about Egyptology, because modern world is believed to have adopted its civilization from Egyptian civilization or Egyptology. And so when you study the Egyptian civilization, you discover that there is too much aspect to do with how they live and believed things, and whatsoever they believed in, the aspect of their faith actually coordinated everything they were doing. Like they believed in the sun worship, Osiris. They believed in worshiping the sun, and they also believed on earth, and they gave names to different partitions or nature as they adopted their own personal civilization, individual civilization, and as they grew up, and their minds and their objections also advanced within stage and period of time. With the Egyptians, they believed in life after death. We have no idea how this was adopted, but they really believe that there will be life after death, and we can watch and we can see that in the mummies or mummies. These are the places where they buried the ancient pharaohs, and we can see that how they kept these particular people was a belief that there is a day they will resurrect back to life. I have tried to study Egyptian civilization, and I discovered there are a lot of formalities, and there are a lot of beliefs, and there are a lot of traditional aspects that Christianity or other religious aspects have in connection to the Egyptian civilization. But what is the end of the world? When is the world coming to an end? This is debatable. It is not something that has been fully researched so that somebody can say they have the full answers, but it is debatable. You may have the answer. It all takes a person to get a revelation, an idea, to invent anything, and to come up with anything that is substantial, to be believed upon, to be understood, and to be taken as a serious matter. However, let's look at the end of the world when we are categorizing the matter and the issue of climate change. The world is deteriorating. That one we know. It is absurd that some elite don't believe so. We've had world leaders, some of them coming up in the center stage and say global warming is a hoax. We see these things happen. We've seen personal people who are trying to campaign and say whatsoever things they want to believe in. But we watch. We have evidence that a lot of changes are taking place on planet Earth. Global warming is a reality. The ice caps are melting. Nature by itself is disintegrating. Climate change is a reality. The seawater is rising up. Recently, there were issues in Lake Victoria in East Africa where they're talking about the lake has risen to about 34 meters. It's the second largest lake in the world after Lake Superior in Canada. And when you look at the trend of environment, vegetation, what people used to believe as agricultural cycles, things have changed. Rainfall doesn't still come the way it used to. There's too much famine because the pattern of rain has changed, and the spread of desert is actually paramount. Sub-Saharan country is experiencing some heat, some change of weather, and this is causing chaos in food insecurity. These matters are of serious aspects, and I believe that the threat of the environment is one way to indicate to us that probably we as human beings, as we know it, we are at the brink of destruction unless we do something drastic, something based on reality, and transform what has been lost so that we can have salvaged anything possibly for the generation to come. This is an aspect that I do believe should be taken more seriously. It goes beyond religion. It is a reality. What are we going to do when masses of human beings are not able to cater for themselves because food shortage is happening? What do we do when change of environment starts taking place and we are experiencing extreme weather patterns, extreme heat waves, hurricanes, and everything that is abnormal to our system? What are we going to do when the pillars and the layers that protect us from the ozone layer split open and we start getting direct sunlight, direct chemicals penetrating our body, our universe, our environments, and we start dying in masses? That is a point and a question that goes beyond religion. And so I'm not only talking about religious aspect, but I'm talking about reality aspect and the mode of truth and how we as human beings can collaborate together to defeat some of the aspects that we know is tormenting us and is haunting us, and one way or another is worth defeating. And this goal of defeating these things must be universal and must be geared into complete understanding of what is happening. So naturally, the end of the world is also talking about the physical disintegration of crescent earth. To the spiritual part of the world, the Christian, we believe in the book of Genesis, in the book of Matthew chapter number 24, The apostles comes and ask Jesus towards the end of everything, and they ask him, tell us, when will be the end of the world? When will a sign come that will show that the world is to come to an end? And Jesus talked about Jerusalem, but he went on talking about wars and rumors of war. Tick. Those are some of the aspects we're watching happening today, befalling us. Jesus also went on and talked about the love of people growing cold, an earthquake in diverse places. Tick. You're watching that happening. So he also understood geographically that there will be elements of the earth experiencing some disintegration. But he went on saying, and this is very unique because he's trying to explain about the signs of the end of the world, but he went on by saying, but the end the end is not yet, that we will watch these things happen and unveil before our lives and our eyes, but the end will not be anywhere closer to that. He talks about tribulation period, a time that the Christians will be persecuted and the earth will be subject into a very harsh leadership. Demons will take control of human beings, transforming human beings into disaster, into destruction. And Jesus said and mentioned that this tribulation, if God did not redeem the time by which the tribulation period will take place, no man or no human being will have been rescued. And Jesus makes it very clearly, these are just the beginning of labor pain, or pain as we know it, as we go towards the end of the ends. I know many prophets or many individual religious acclaims have come out there trying to impress people of certain dates, certain years where these things will be happening. But in most cases, what we have seen when people come and say these things really don't happen. And so the end of the world is a stage out there and a platform of debating. But to my little experience, which I have, Jesus talked about the signs. Say, look at the signs, then the signs can tell you what we are getting closer to. So I do believe, if you ask me about the end of the world, we are as closer to the end of the world right now than we ever had before. And the transformation of mankind is not getting better. Coronavirus is sweeping the entire world. Death as we know it, war as we know it, hatred as we know it, society disintegrating, social injustice happening, evil increasing, and a lot of destruction happening. Nature is depleted, animals are dying, global warming is becoming a reality, and then what do we expect? Whew. God bless you. World Bank. I want to talk about false prophets. And you know, Jesus mentioned something in the book of Matthew chapter number 24 about false prophets. The word false means they have no connection whatsoever with the deity God, but they are prophets. They cannot attain that title unless they are able to effectively prove their capability to function as prophets. The Word of God talks about how they will perform miracles, how they will do miracles, and how in themselves they will be able to acquire greater powers. And especially the book of Revelation, the Bible